And then the very last thing is, as a token of appreciation, I always gift my guests with a token with a meaningful word that I hand stamp on it. Would you be willing to share what word you chose and why?
Yeah, that it's, it seems so obvious, right? But my word is flaunt. And I'm sorry that sounds so generic. And one of the reasons it's flaunt is because in the common vernacular, flaunt could be a negative. People can think, oh, flaunting, just like, oh, excessive and all that kind of stuff. My usage for the word flaunt and how we regard it and don't know how to flaunt it is it's code for unconditional self-acceptance. That's what flaunting means. It means that you've come to this headspace where you really have kind of drowned out all the noise and you're like, I love me for me. In the book, I talk about someone who wrote, it was actually an interview with Oprah Winfrey, but what she said is, what you have to do is let go of all the sadness you might have of what you wanted for yourself or your family or whatever, and arrive at the place that you just want to be madly in love with the life you were given.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that so much. And so the only way to do that for me is to become a flaunter, like just unconditional self-acceptance. And you know what's cool? Once you get to be a flaunter and you can flaunt, then you become this magnetic person. I'm not trying to say I'm so magnetic, but I think people are like, oh, please. But do you know what I mean? Like people are like, oh, who's that? Like, and so to your point, of the kid, and I hate thinking about the kid that you mentioned, but I will say this, the kid that was ignored. I want to see, just like for my own children and anybody's children, that they're flaunters, and that those, people that are super, in that headspace, I'm telling you, no one ignores my boys or any of my kids. And I think it's because of the way they regard themselves. They know how to flaunt. And again, in the definition of the word as we describe it.
And I agree there, because at the end of his interview, he had almost died. He had kidney failure. And after all of that, that's when he came to the realization, and he said too, the acceptance of his spina bifida. Whereas before he said he really didn't accept himself that he had spina. And after that, because of everything. So yeah, I mean, you nailed it, until you have that acceptance and love yourself. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sound like I'm dissing him at all.
No, but there's so much truth to it,
Yeah, totally.
So,
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this conversation, Karen, and just, having the time with you. And, I admire you and everything you've done as, a person, as a parent and everything. So, we'll continue the conversation, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And